Hello, my dear friends. Today we start our second lecture, and we are going to talk about identifying and selecting aims for your lesson plan. Okay, well, when we talk about aims, we can look at them from different angles, and actually, we can talk about different kinds of aims. Well, first of all, you can write and you can think about the aims for your lesson or for a sequence of lessons. Typically in the course book, it would mean a unit or a module. And also for the whole course, like for example, for the whole year that you have. For example, if we talk about aims for a lesson, it might be talking about my plans for the next weekend. It means that today in the lesson, you're going to teach your students how to use going to and talk about their plans for the weekend. For a sequence of lessons would mean that, for example, in this unit, we are learning to talk, read, listen, and speak on the topic of medicine. And if you're talking about the whole course, the aim may be to be able to communicate at A2 level of CEFR. Okay, aims can focus on different things. For example, you can focus on a function in your lesson. For example, ordering a meal in a cafe. This is what your students will learn in this lesson. Or a grammatical structure. For example, you want to teach your students how to use the modal verb can in various ways. The vocabulary of a particular topic, for example, learning the food words, or developing a language skills, for example, talking or making a dialogue. Again, it would be great if you make not just an abstract dialogue, but a dialogue on some topic. For example, a dialogue in a hospital or a dialogue in a taxi cab. Okay, so this is the question that you should ask yourself when you're supposed to think about what aims you want to set for your lesson. The first question is, what do my learners already know, right? And the second is, what do they need to know? Answering these two questions will help you to decide on the aim for your lesson. Okay, good. Now let's take a look at the typical aim. For example, well, in a lesson, of course, you have got the main aim, like the final aim of your lesson. It might be, for example, practice making polite requests when arranging a holiday. Yeah, typically when you're thinking about the main aim of your lesson, it's great to have the exponent of this aim. What is an exponent? Exponent, it is an example of the language that you expect from your students by the end of the lesson. So if your main aim is to practice making polite requests when arranging a holiday, it means that your exponent or the language that you expect from your students will be like, for example, could you give me some information about hotels? It is very important to fix the exponent of your main aim because it makes your main aim concrete. Because if you just think of the main aim and do not think about the exponent, that would make it a little bit vague, and which could cause some trouble for you when delivering the lesson. Okay, but of course, as I have already mentioned in our offline lessons, the main aim, to reach the main aim, you will have to complete some subsidiary aims, right? For example, one subsidiary aim in our situation is grammar, right? If you want to make polite requests, you will need to revise modal auxiliary verbs. Another subsidiary aim is the functional exponents. Could you or would you? Yes, we need to know some certain phrases that we typically use to make requests. Another subsidiary aim is the vocabulary. You need to revise and consolidate words connected to travel and accommodation here. Subsidiary aim number 4, phonology, focus on polite request intonation, and for example, speaking to give controlled oral practice to the student. It is also the aim, the subsidiary aim of your lesson, to provide your students with an opportunity to practice everything. Okay, good. Plus, every lesson and every of your plans should contain not only the main aim of the lesson and the subsidiary aims, but also your personal aims. What do I mean by personal aims? Your aims as a teacher, because every lesson is not only when you teach your students something, but every lesson is an opportunity for you to learn something and to practice something or to experiment with some teaching techniques. Okay, what could be possible personal aims? For example, you would like to improve your organization of the whiteboard, or to give, well, you would like to try to give clear examples to your students, or you would like to try a new correction technique, or maybe you always forget to check instruction. I mean, you give instruction to your students, but you never make sure that they understand your instruction. You forget to check it. So maybe your personal aim for the current lesson can be to try to remember to check instruction with your students, or to get learners to work with different partners. You know, typically when they are sitting together with their usual partners, they get used to each other. And maybe this lesson you would like to shuffle them and to see how it works in different pairings. Or to get quieter learners to answer questions, right? Every class has got a quieter learner who are shy to talk, and your personal aim for the next lesson may be to try to try to make these people speak out, right? Okay, so please always remember about your personal aims, because if you do not set personal aims for the lessons, you are not developing. Well, all right. Now, identifying and selecting aims, it is what we are talking about today, is the first step in a long process of planning and carrying out your lesson. And it is connected and it leads to a number of other steps. So let's look at this thing in the context. So first, you identify and select the aims for your lesson. Well, then you design or select the activities that you're going to include in your plan. After that, you put them in the best order. Typically, we start with the easier ones, and then at the end of the lesson, we give them the harder ones, or maybe starting with a controlled practice and coming up to the freer type of activities. Well, after that, you choose the most suitable teaching aids and materials. By teaching aids, I mean different things, different equipment that is supposed to facilitate your work with your students. Then you, after the lesson, you reflect on whether your aims have been achieved, right? And if your aims have been achieved, you can celebrate that and move on. If they haven't been achieved, it means that probably you will need to redesign some part of your lesson, or maybe to plan another lesson devoted to achieving the same aims, so that you finally get what you want from your students, right? Then after you have reflected, again, you come back to the beginning of the process and you identify and select the aims for the next lesson. So here we have got a certain circle, yes, where identifying and selecting aims is the basis and it's the first step of the circle. Okay, good. Well, a bit of key concepts connected to selecting your aims. If you are lost and if you don't know what kind of aims to select for the next lesson, use your course book, use the syllabus. By syllabus, I mean the program. Yeah, typically it's the course book that you have with your group. It will give you, at least it will give you the sense of direction. For example, if I take this course book, it's Total English Intermediate. You open the unit and you see that at the beginning of the unit, you typically have the grammar that you're going to learn and the skills like I can start a conversation with a stranger. This is what your student is supposed to know after having this lesson. So Practically speaking, these are the aims for your lessons. So please use the course book. It may be very helpful in defining the aims for your lesson. Okay, but always reflect on your learners' real needs. If you only look at the course book and only blindly follow the course book, you may forget about your real learners. And then, believe me, your lessons will be boring and probably your students will get disinterested. So you always should reflect on what my students really need. Maybe they don't need this aim. Maybe they are already good at this and I need to do something different with them. And always reflect on your own personal aims. What exactly do you want from your student and how are you going to develop professionally in designing and carrying out this lesson? All right, now don't confuse aims and procedures. Aims are what the learners will learn to do as a result of your lesson. So that is some skill that your students acquire during the lesson, while procedures are the things that learners will actually do at the lesson to achieve these aims. So aims shouldn't be too general. For example, some teachers might want to teach the past simple. This is the aim of my lesson. Well, actually, it's not a good aim. A good aim for a lesson would look like this: to introduce and practice the past simple for talking about personal experience. So first of all, we introduce and practice it. It's important, not just abstractly teach the past simple, because what does teach mean? And past simple for talking about personal experiences. It's important because we can use past simple to do different things. For example, we can use past simple to tell a story or to retell a historical event. Today, we learn to use past simple for talking about our personal experiences. So we narrow the scope of our lesson because it's important, it's impossible to use, well, to teach them past simple to about everything in the world, right? So please keep it pragmatic and narrow. Or, for example, I want to develop learners' reading skills in my lesson. Very, very abstract. Well, it's not a good way. Let's look. Well, this looks better. To give learners practice in predicting content, scanning for specific information, and guessing meaning from context. So these are real specific skills connected to reading. All right, now don't plan too much for a lesson. Typically, when I was starting my teaching career, I typically planned for 3 lessons in one. I mean, I write a plan, I teach my lesson, and I realize that I have done only 30% of my plan. But my plan was for a whole lesson. It means that I haven't achieved my aims. So keep yourself short and pragmatic and set an aim for a lesson, please. Well, inform your learners of your aims and plans for the lessons. They should know what you expect from them, and it's great if at the beginning of your lesson your learners know what they will be able to achieve in the end. And they just don't confused and they don't get confused and they don't get the feeling like they're in the middle of nowhere, right? And when you are informing your students of your aims, please put it in simple words. For example, today we are going to read a story and learn how to describe people in English. Very simple, without any, methodological language. Okay, well, that's all about theory. Let's get some practice. Prepare to use your brain very hard. Okay, find the good subsidiary aim for each lesson plan step. Here we have the summary of a lesson plan, which is split up into 8 stages. For each stage, find a good subsidiary aim. So stage number 1, stage number 2, stage number 3, stage number 4, stage number 5, stage number 6, Stage number 7. Stage number 8. Thank you. What do you think? Reflection time. Think about this command from a teacher. Do you agree with this? Why? Why not? You can record me a voice message in Vkontakte, or you can text your commentary in the space which I will leave above for you. If you send me your voice message in Vkontakte, in the field of the message here in this application, please text VK. So I will see your message and I understand that I will have to go to VK and listen to your voices or to your voice message. What do you think about this teacher and about his quote? Do you agree with this? Okay, thank you. What about this? Thank you. What about this one? Thank you very much. And an optional activity. I'm not going to sanction you if you don't do this activity, but if you do this activity, you will get some extra points from me. And this activity is only for those who already have some teaching practice. Maybe you work somewhere, maybe you have your private students. Well, list your main aims, subsidiary aims, and personal aims for the last lesson that you taught, and the next one that you are planning for the same class. You can send me the message here. I will leave you a special field in this application, or you can record me a voice message in Vkontakte. But if you do it, please write here VK so that I understand where I'm going to find your message. Thank you. And the final part of our seminar is a piece of TKT, a little piece of the testing. Well, choose the best aim for the summary of a lesson. Summary number 1. What is the best aim for it? Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Number 6. Number 7. Well, that's it for today, my dear friends. Thank you very much for your work. I hope it was not too hard, and I hope that you enjoyed the process. See you next term.